Okay, thank you all for your patience. I appreciate it very much. And I am going to read, although the slides are helpful visually, most everything I'm going to read aloud. So in general, when you become eligible to participate in the retirement plan when you reach 12 months of continuous full-time service. In today's presentation, we'll be discussing the various types of retirement options that will become available to you with plan participation over time. But first, let's take a more in-depth look into the term continuous service on the next slide. All right, so for those hired on or after May 16, 1980, participation in the plan begins 12 months after completing full-time continuous service. The current employee contribution percentage is 13.795%, while CTA contributes 27.59% for each participant. These percentages are based on each individual's earnings. For those hired before May 16, 1980, you probably need to call me, but participation in the plan began at the time that they entered full-time service. Part-time employees do not participate in the retirement plan. Continuous service with the Chicago Transit Authority generally refers to the length of time that an employee has worked for the CTA without any significant breaks in employment. Continuous pension service is calculated from the date an employee first began contributing to the plan until the date of their retirement or separation. Continuous service includes the following: authorized leave of absence for up to 3 years, layoff or furlough not exceeding 3 years, termination followed by reinstatement within 3 years, and time spent in the armed forces for up to 4 years. Absence exceeding the above-mentioned timeframes will result in a reduction when calculating future pension service. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So when does a participant become eligible for pension benefits? So after becoming a participant, the minimum age and service years needed in order to qualify for benefits will depend on when you were first hired. On your left, you'll notice the words normal retirement. What is normal retirement? Normal retirement is a retirement that takes place on or after an employee has reached their 65th birthday. There are 3 major benefits to retiring after age 65. First, there are no early retirement penalties applied regardless of years of service. Second, for an employee 65 or older, there is no minimum number of years required in order to retire. And third, if you retire after reaching age 65, medical premiums are significantly lower due to Medicare eligibility. Now, I understand that not everybody wants to work until they reach age 65. Thankfully, there are 2 early retirement options. There's an unreduced pension option and a reduced pension option for those under 65. The requirements for each depend on when you were first hired. For example, if you look on the chart on the right, those employees that were first hired on or before September 5th, 2001 are eligible for an unreduced pension at any age as long as they retire on or after completing 25 years of continuous pension service. An employee hired under that same time frame would also be eligible for a reduced pension after age 55 upon completion of at least 3 years of continuous pension service. The penalty, however, for retiring under the terms of a reduced pension is 5% for each year under 65 that you are at the time of retirement. If an employee hired under this time frame decided to retire at 55 years old with 3 years of continuous pension service, the penalty would be 50%, or 5% for each of the 10 years under their 65th birthday. That penalty would remain in place for the remainder of that retiree's lifetime. So let's take a look on the next slide where we'll discuss our disability benefits. Unlike a regular retirement, a disability benefit is not penalized based on age or years of service. There are no minimum age requirements in order to apply for benefits. There is also no minimum age or number of years required in order to enroll in the health insurance offered through the plan. Eligibility requirements for disability allowance are as follows. If you are disabled due to a non-occupational accident or illness, you must have at least 10 years of continuous pension service. If you are disabled due to an occupational accident or illness, you must have at least 5 years of continuous pension service. You must be unable to return to work with the authority, and you must have completed at least 26 weeks under short-term disability or 26 weeks of workman's compensation prior to applying for disability pension. There is one more retirement option that I would like to share with you, and that is the option to take a deferred vested pension. So this pension option is not for everyone, but it's definitely worth taking a look at. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So the first question asks, what happens if an employee leaves employment at the authority after they have completed 10 or more years of continuous service? If you are a CTA employee and you become separated after having contributed to the pension for at least 10 years, but you don't meet the requirements for an early retirement, you will have the option to take a deferred vested pension. This deferred vested pension is a monthly lifetime pension that begins on the first of the month after you reached age 65. This pension would be calculated using the average and the years of service that you had at the time that your employment was terminated. The vested pension is also a good option for those that do meet the requirements for an early reduced pension, but would rather delay their pension until the age of 65 in order to avoid any early retirement penalty. Alternatively, an employee may take a refund of contributions if he or she waives any future pension benefits under that service. The second question asks, what happens if an employee leaves the authority before they have completed 10 years of continuous service? If an employee leaves the authority with less than 10 years of pension service, the employee can receive a refund of any pension contributions with interest at the time that they are separated from service. The refund can be made directly to the former participant or rolled over into a tax-advantaged plan. An employee will never receive a refund for the portion of contributions that were made on behalf of the authority. Next slide, please. Do I have an option regarding participation in the plan? The answer is it depends. Employees not represented by any union, exempt non-bargain for employees may opt out of the plan before or after, I should say, beginning contributions to the plan. All other employees must participate. And there have been some major changes to the opt-in, opt-out process. So if I could, until recently, the action of opting out of the plan was permanent. Today, those who have opted out in the past will have an opportunity to opt back in. This has already started taking place. The gap in between the time that contributions were first made and the time that contributions were restarted will not be considered when calculating future benefits. If you are someone who opted out of the plan prior to making any contributions, your pension service will simply begin at the time that you opt back in. Opting out of the pension a second time will be a permanent action. A refund of contributions will be available to those who do not intend to opt back into the pension in the future. If you are someone who is interested in opting back in, or you would like more information on this topic, please feel free to contact our office. And you can leave it at that slide. So now we enter the healthcare portion of our presentation. I know that several of you have questions regarding the healthcare and the Retiree Healthcare Trust, so a bit about its origin. In January of 2008, legislation was passed by the Illinois General Assembly that authorized the establishment of the Retiree Healthcare Trust, also referred to as the RHCT. The primary responsibility of the RHCT is to provide and administer healthcare benefits for CTA retirees, their dependents, and survivors. All active employees of the CTA, whether they be full-time, part-time, temporary, union, and non-union, must contribute to the RHCT. The current contribution rate for the RHCT is 1% of your gross earnings. This amount can change based on the funded status of the RHCT. The contributions made to the Retiree Healthcare Trust are intended to offset the cost of monthly healthcare premiums in retirement. What are the age and service requirements to be eligible for healthcare benefits from the Retirement Healthcare Trust? So if you look at the chart, you'll see the term eligibility credits. Eligibility credits are used to determine eligibility for retirement healthcare trust coverage. They are calculated using your credited service from the date of hire, plus continuous service with the CTA from January 18, 2008 thereafter. Depending on your age and years of eligibility service, you may or may not be eligible to enroll in the healthcare coverage at the time that you retire. For those under the age of 65, you must have 20 or more years of eligibility service and be at least 55 years of age in order to enroll onto the plan's insurance at the start of your retirement. If you retire after 65, you may enroll in the plan's insurance if you have at least 10 years of eligibility service. If you retired under the age of 65, but you had at least 10 years of eligibility service, you may enroll in the plan's insurance beginning at the age of 65. If you retired with more than 25 years of service, but were under the age of 55 at the time that you began receiving pension benefits, you will be able to enroll yourself and your family on the insurance after reaching your 55th birthday. If you have less than 10 years of eligibility credits, you will not qualify for health insurance at any point throughout retirement. Those who are not eligible for healthcare coverage from the Retirement Healthcare Trust will be eligible for reimbursement of their healthcare trust contributions via the Healthcare Trust Reimbursement Account, or HRA, starting at the age of 65. Enrollees in the HRA will receive a debit card to be used on medical expenses until their individual retirement healthcare trust contributions have been exhausted. The HRA debit card is also available to those who do qualify for insurance through the plan, but feel that the debit card is a better option for them. Next slide, please. How are monthly healthcare premiums set for retirees and dependents? The Board of Trustees of the Retiree Healthcare Trust determine what premiums will be from year to year. They are also responsible for creating a plan design and setting the premiums for retirees, dependents, and surviving spouses. Because the board negotiates on behalf of such a large group of retirees, prices offered through the retirement plan often come in at a lower cost than an individual might find outside the plan. Participation in the plan's insurance is optional. Next slide, please. What kind of insurance is available to eligible pensioners? The CTA Retiree Healthcare Plan includes medical, prescription drug, and dental coverage for CTA retirees, disabled pensioners, as well as their surviving spouses and eligible dependents. Currently, the Retiree Healthcare Trust provides access to Aetna, POS2, and Aetna Select Plan. Those are the PPO and HMO equivalents for those who are not yet eligible for Medicare. Once a pensioner or their dependents become Medicare eligible, the Retiree Healthcare Trust provides access to a Humana Medicare Advantage plan. Humana offers Medicare Advantage PPO or HMO options. Minimum age and service requirements must be met in order for a retiree to become eligible to participate in the plan's insurance. An eligible retiree may enroll in the insurance at the point of their retirement or during open enrollment, typically November 1st through the 15th of each year. For those considering retirement who are currently Medicare eligible or have Medicare eligible dependents, you are encouraged to reach out to our pension office a few months prior to your projected retirement date so that we could provide you with more information on how to sign up for Medicare Part B in advance of your retirement. What will my monthly premium be for healthcare coverage? So there are several factors that will determine what your monthly premium will be. Those factors are the amount of healthcare trust premium service credit that you have at the point of retirement, the medical plan that you choose, such as an HMO or PPO, the coverage level that you elect, such as an individual or family plan, and whether or not you or your dependents are Medicare eligible. For hourly employees, Retirement Healthcare Trust Premium Service is calculated by using your credited service with the retirement plan through January 17, 2008, plus total hours worked after January 18, 2008, divided by 2,080 hours, or 1 year's hours. For salaried employees, the Retirement Healthcare Trust Premium Service is calculated by using your credited service with the retirement plan up until January 17, 2008, plus continuous service after January 18, 2008, through the end of your employment. Am I eligible for HRA or the Retirement Healthcare Trust coverage? As we discussed earlier, you must meet the minimum required age and eligibility service in order to enroll in the plan's insurance. At the end of your career, you may have a choice between the healthcare reimbursement account and the Retirement Healthcare Trust healthcare coverage. You cannot enroll in both the healthcare reimbursement account and the healthcare coverage offered through the RHCT. If you elect to take healthcare coverage, the contributions that you made to the Retirement Healthcare Trust will be used to offset the cost of your monthly healthcare premiums. If you enroll in the healthcare reimbursement account, you will be provided a debit card linked to the account that holds your balance of Retirement Healthcare Trust contributions. Your reimbursement account can be used to pay for medical expenses for yourself and your eligible dependents as long as that account holds a balance. There's a little bit more on this topic on the next slide. You are eligible for the Retirement Healthcare Reimbursement account at age 65, even if you are not eligible for a pension. If you opted out of the CTA pension or received a refund of your pension contributions, you are only eligible for a healthcare reimbursement account debit card. You may be eligible for immediate healthcare coverage if you receive a disability allowance, regardless of age. And there are certain part-time employees who do not meet the requirements for pension, but they may be eligible for healthcare coverage. This applies for those part-time employees who leave CTA with more than 10 years of eligibility service. For more information on all topics that were discussed here today, please feel free to log on to our website, where you will find some of our most frequently asked questions and answers. Our current healthcare guidebook, which also goes into great detail on the insurance, is on that site as well. And we also have a pension estimate calculator, if you're curious. There's lots of great information on that site. I do highly encourage you to check that out if you haven't already. But today, if you guys are approaching pension eligibility, if you have any in-depth questions, or if you have a question regarding refund of contributions, the opt-in out process, the next slide will definitely be helpful. That is the direct contact numbers and email addresses of our team members that handle pension inquiries. Definitely are able to find this contact information on our website as well. That is ctaretirement.org. Okay, last slide, please. So I just want to leave you with this. Many employees spend their lives working hard and dreaming of the day that they can finally retire, but planning for retirement is so important. You have something great here that you can build on. Please take the time to plan your retirement out. I do unfortunately get phone calls from those who have retired and they were not prepared. So please take the time to plan your retirement out. Reach out and ask questions. We are here as a resource to help you set and achieve your retirement goals. Your future self will thank you. This concludes today's presentation, and I thank you all again so much for investing your time with me today. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
One question here, please. So we have several employees with a couple of questions. One question for me is, on the second option, if you were hired after 2001 and before 2008, how does that retirement and pension work for that employee?
Yeah, so you might receive an annual statement by mail, and on the first page of that statement includes our retirement eligibility chart. Each chart lays out the eligibility based on that time frame. So higher date, if you said it was after September 5th, 2001, but before 2008, you would see that you would first qualify for pension benefits when you reach age 55 upon completion of at least 3 years. And if you wanted to take an early unreduced pension, no penalties whatsoever, you'd have to be 55 years old with at least 25 years of continuous pension service, which is the same as 26 years full-time.
So if I get my 26th year in my 40s and I retire, I won't get no insurance, but would they penalize me for my pension?
Well, if you were hired after September 5th, 2001, you couldn't retire in your 40s. You would have to be a minimum of 55 years old with 3 years of pension service. So in this case, you would have to either continue to work until you reach age 55, or you could leave CTA and take a deferred vested pension. Otherwise, the only option that you'll have is to take a refund of your contributions. So you must pay careful attention to the minimum age requirements for each bracket, for each eligibility bracket.
So I have a quick question, just a general rule of thumb. Should a person retire like on the 1st, the 15th, or the 30th of the month? Does it matter?
I'll make it pretty easy. Retirement can only take place on the 1st of the month, and the deadline to apply for retirement is always the 14th. So for example, our next available retirement date is June 1st, and you must apply by May 14th in order for that retirement to be processed.
Okay. And that doesn't matter what day you started, right? Like if you started on the 5th, retirement is still on the 1st, 30
Yeah,
years
so
later.
typically you would have to work past your anniversary date so that you would have that full amount of service credited to you.
Okay.
Same for your birthday. If you're waiting for a milestone birthday, you have to wait till the month after that birthday takes place, unless you're a lucky person who has their birthday on the 1st of the month.
Yeah, not that lucky, but thank you.
Sure.
We have a question in the chat here from a Mark. He asks, is healthcare coverage deferred? For example, if you retire at 63 with 13 years of service and choose deferred pension disbursements and wait until age 65 before receiving the pension disbursement, can this be done with medical coverage once the person becomes 65?
Yeah, so in this case, if this person is 63 and they have, I think you said 13 years of service,
Yes.
they wouldn't have the minimum of 20 years in order to take insurance at the time that they retired. Remember, under 65, you need a minimum of 20 years of service of eligibility service in order to take insurance right away. But they would be eligible to start that insurance after reaching their 65th birthday with the minimum of 10 years of eligibility service. Yes, they could defer it. And anybody could defer their healthcare enrollment. Open enrollment is one of those options. There are a couple of other instances. So if you don't enroll in the insurance right away at the start of your retirement, there's, for example, a qualifying event that could take place later on in life. Let's say you go onto your spouse's insurance and they retire. Now you've abruptly lost your insurance. You need insurance. You'll have the option to cover yourself or any family members at that time. I believe it's a 30-day time frame that you would have to let us know that this has taken place and you have interest in enrolling. Medicare eligibility, turning Medicare eligible is also a qualifying event.
Looks like we have a question from Tanisha. Get a hand up.
Sorry, I asked it earlier, so I'll put my hand down. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
No worries. Okay, we have another question in the chat. If I retired at age 63 with more than 25 years service and took insurance between 63 and 65, what happens to my RHCT at 65 when Medicare starts?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the healthcare would be offset regardless of your age. So let's say this person had 25 years of service. The insurance for the individual, let's just say they were unmarried, would be $145 prior to turning age 65. The true cost of that insurance is upwards of $1,000 a month. But the same would be applied after 65. So we offer Humana Medicare Advantage after an individual turns 65. And that insurance is also given out at a discount. I believe that the current rate for someone who has 25 years is about $53, $54. And that insurance comes in at a true cost of about $200. So they would continue to save money even after they turn 65 compared to the outside rates that are available to them. The healthcare trust contributions would continue to go towards offsetting that cost is the answer.
Got it. Okay, so this next question is related to clarify, if I decide to choose the RHCT after I retire, the funds I contributed to that are used to pay my monthly premium, correct? What happens if those funds are depleted, or is that not possible?
So the healthcare trust contributions will never be used to directly pay an entire premium. The retiree will still be responsible for paying a portion of their premium. The contributions in the healthcare trust will be used to reduce the cost of the insurance. A specified amount of savings will apply for each person based on their healthcare trust premium service time. Those premiums are reduced by 5-year increments. They are available online in the healthcare trust PDF booklet of our online on our website. You could also feel free to call us. Actually, I do encourage any hourly employees out there who missed work due to an illness or injury to call us and check on the status of their healthcare trust premium service, because unfortunately, although if you are injured or off for an excused form of absence, your pension service continues to be counted towards your credit, but your healthcare trust is based on hours worked. So it is very possible that if you're gone for an extended period of time, you will fall behind in the healthcare trust premium service. So when you come in to retire, you may have 25 years of service with the pension, but you might find that you're a year or two behind in the healthcare trust. And in this example, instead of benefiting from the rate of someone who has between 25 and 30 years, $145 a month, you would end up in the bracket underneath that, 20 to 25 years, and your premium would be $485 a month. So it's important to keep an eye on that. If you've been off, you're welcome to call and check on that. We can definitely do that and play around with some projected timeframes of when you might catch up.
Perfect, thank you. All right, our next question here asks, if you retire at the age of 50 and have over 25 years, what happens to your HC trust contribution between the ages of 50 and 55?
Well, the healthcare trust contributions will remain invested in the healthcare trust fund. At 55, you would have a 30-day opportunity to enroll in the insurance. And what's nice about the insurance savings is even after you deplete your own personal healthcare trust contributions, you continue to save or get that discount applied to your healthcare. On average, we're showing that healthcare trust contributions are being depleted within the first 4 to 5 years. And on average, our pension contributions are paid out to our retirees on an average of the first 3 to 5 years. So lots of savings over time if you're looking to take the healthcare or a pension.
Okay. Next question, can a financial advisor deal with the pension and the healthcare on behalf of an employee?
The employee is welcome to call us with the financial advisor. We won't speak directly to a financial advisor. They're also welcome to come in if you'd like to set an appointment.
Okay. Next question. Have options been presented to the pension board or trustees to somehow bring the age back down?
Back
not
down
sure.
from the last bracket, like 64 years with 25 years. As far as I know, nothing's been brought forward. Any concerns can be addressed directly with the Board of Trustees. Their information is available on our website.
Okay. Next question. Is there a way of going online to check our balance in the pension at any time? I had heard that this was planned, but never heard anything beyond that.
We're currently working on having a retirement portal available to those who are retired. As far as I know, I'm not sure what the options are going to be as far as those who are not retired. We are working on some new software, and if that person wants to check back in, maybe at the end of this year, we're projected to have that portal open in about a year and a half. It's going to be a process. And that portal, by the way, is going to be used to make changes, and we're very excited about it, but it is in the early stages.
Perfect. Okay, I think that was the last question I saw in the chat. If anyone else has anything that they thought of, please feel free. Let's see. Oh, we got another one here. If any employee started pension contributions at 62, do they need to work until 72 to qualify for pension? And what's the percentage of pension that would be received?
Okay, good question. No, you don't have to wait till you're 10 years in. So at this, in this example, somebody who starts at 62, you will be eligible to retire at the age of 65. Remember, age 65, there is absolutely no minimum that is needed to retire and receive pension benefits. The minimum of 10 years applies only to the healthcare portion. So that portion, that pension would be calculated using the person's average of the highest 4 years, or in this case, however many years they have, times 2.15, our multiplier, times their years of service with the pension. And that would bring the annual benefit, and then we would divide that into 12 for the monthly portion. So I hope that answers that.
Okay. We have another one here. For those who opted back into the pension, any talks about getting credit for the prior years to be counted towards the pension?
As of right now, the board has stated that there would be no way to pay for the time not being in participation. So no, you cannot repurchase time. It's simply going to start at the point that you opt back in going forward.
Okay. Next question. Are there other options for retiree healthcare other than Humana PPO or HMO?
For those under 65, we offer Aetna POS2 or the PPO, or Aetna HMO, Aetna Select. But those are the only two insurance options available. So they are divided by Medicare eligibility, because we do have people who are Medicare eligible prior to age 65. So only two: Medicare eligible, Humana; non-Medicare eligible, Aetna at this time. The only two options.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? You're also welcome to unmute if you'd like. Okay, we have one here. Is there any easy way to calculate how much you save going with the HRCT versus the RCA?
Yeah, so it would depend first if you plan on taking an individual plan or a family plan. So in that one example, let's say you were someone who had 25 years and you had a family and you wanted to take the PPO option. The insurance would cost you $806 a month. The true cost of that insurance is $2,160. So you could take $2,160 minus 806, and that would leave you with a balance of $1,354. That's how much would come out of your healthcare trust every month so that your responsibility stays at 806. And even when those contributions run out, your premium stays at 806. So what we could do is, let's say at the point of retirement, this individual has $30,000 in their healthcare trust. We could say at a monthly rate of $1,354 times 12 months, that's $16,248 per year in offset costs. It's easy to see that in just 2 years alone, the healthcare trust of $30,000 will be negative $2,496. 2 years of savings and the healthcare trust would be gone. So I would say if this person is healthy and they plan on being around for more than 2 years, then it would definitely be in their best interest to take the healthcare over time, unless they have some great options. If a spouse has really good insurance offered to them, that could make sense. Or if they're a military veteran, maybe they don't need the insurance. Someone who had a late start in the pension, such as someone who is retiring at 65 and has maybe only 10 years of service, the difference in what they would pay versus what the true cost is would be very small. So those people in particular would have to really think about what option is best for them. But for those who have a good amount of pension service, it's almost always more beneficial to take the insurance, but definitely do your own research and make that informed decision. We're happy to help if you need some direct quotes and calculations.
Okay, we have another question here that asks, can a pension check be sent to an international overseas bank account?
This is a tough subject. We do have retirees living overseas. There are specific tax forms that need to be carefully figured out. I would say if you are someone who is considering moving out of the country, you should contact a financial advisor or a tax specialist and fill out the appropriate tax forms. So if that is the case, they're welcome to call. We can give them a little bit more information about what specific forms they would need to do, but we do have people living outside of the US and they are receiving their pension benefits. But as far as check, I would have to look into that. Most of these are direct deposits.
Our next questions, we have a couple people that are asking something similar. So is there a max years of your pension contributions before you max out? For example, if you were hired at 21 and stay till 65, will the pension come out of your entire career?
Okay, so the pension maxes out at 32.58 years of service, pension service, 33.58 years of full-time service. And then the calculation of the pension itself is based on the best 4 years, technically, of your career. So if anybody has, let's say, some really high years back in the 2000s, which we see a lot, you are encouraged to let us know. There is a form that you would fill out asking to incorporate those years into the average of your best 4. And then from there, your average times the multiplier, 2.15, times your years of pension service, in this case, let's say 3.58, would be how we determine your annual benefit. So depending on when this person was hired, before or after 1980, all of the service that they have as a full-time employee might count towards their pension, or maybe there's that 1-year waiting period. But overall, that's basically across the board, the pension is calculated the same way. Average times multiplier times years of service. And then whether or not there's an early retirement penalty will definitely have an influence on the final calculation.
Okay. So a follow-up question here says, even if you max out, can you still be penalized because of your age? Michael, if that
Okay,
doesn't
yeah,
make sense, you can jump
that's a
in.
good question.
Okay.
So, yes, so if you are hired after 2008, January 18th, and you were someone who got hired super young, and say 20 years old, and you had 32 years, you would be 52. You wouldn't even qualify for pension. So you'd have to wait till you're 55, and then you'd still be looking at a 50% penalty. It's rare that this scenario would play out, but you have to meet the minimum age and service requirements specified in the eligibility chart in order to avoid a penalty, period. So yes, unfortunately, even if you have a lot of service with the healthcare, the pension, you definitely are still looking at early retirement penalties if you don't meet the minimum age requirement as well.
Okay. All right. I think something similar perhaps says that at 65 and 25 years of service, what percentage will I receive? 100%?
Oh, no. The maximum that you can earn is 70%, and that's with 32.58 years, or I think it's 32 years and 7 months pension service, which is 33 years and 7 months full-time. And that's, again, 70% maximum, 70% of your average of your highest 4 years.
Okay, thank you. Next question we have is, can a spouse be added to the healthcare plan at the time of retirement, or do they need to be on the plan prior to retirement?
Okay, that's a good question. So you can add your spouse if you are married to that person on the insurance at the time that you retire or in the future. There has to be either an open enrollment period when you do this or a qualifying event. You must be married to your spouse 1 full year before you retire in order to put them on the insurance at any point in time. So that is a really, good thing to know out there for anybody who is with like a partner, but you were planning on putting them on the insurance. You must be married at the time you retire for 1 full year to have that option. We also offer surviving spouse options, of the option to leave a monthly pension to your spouse. That does require that you are married at the time, but there is no minimum number of months or years that you need to be married in order to do that. You must decide on whether or not to leave a surviving spouse pension at the time that you apply for retirement. That is not something that you can do after retirement, to keep in mind.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, guys, we have a few more minutes left if anyone else has any questions that have not been answered.
If no one is gonna go ahead, we have a few people in this room and we're kind of debating, and I know you answered this question, but I was wondering if you can just clarify something for us. If you started at the age of, let's just say 22 in 2006, and you get your 26 years, obviously in your late 40s, and you do decide to retire, can you get penalized when you retire, or it will be deferred until you're 55? I hope that makes sense, and thank you.
Okay. So this is the tricky thing. You were hired in 2006. You're in your 40s. You cannot decide to retire because you don't qualify. You must be at least 55 with 3 years of service. So in this case, if you are hired in 2006 and you're in your 40s and you feel like you would like to separate from CTA, you can, but you cannot start your pension until, well, if you decide to vest, you could start your pension at 65, or you have to work, literally have to keep working until you're 55 years old. So you must either you meet the requirements, both age and time, at the time that you separate, or you don't. And if you don't, you only have the option to take a refund of whatever balance you have in the pension, or you can vest, leave your contributions in place, and begin your retirement at 65 years old. So I hope that helps. The option to retire in your 40s if you were hired after 2001 does not exist.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we have one more question here that I think is similar. What if you want to retire but don't want to pull your money? Can it be left until the full age to get a higher percentage?
So I don't know if it's considered a higher percentage, but yes, you have the option to leave your contributions in place and begin receiving pension benefits at age 65, provided that you have at least 10 years of pension service. And the percentage won't change, but the fact that you have no early retirement penalty applied to it would yield in a higher monthly amount. So let's say you were somebody with 55 years of age and 10 years of service, and you're looking to work elsewhere and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to take a 50% penalty. It's going to be worth double in the future, and I don't need the money right now. That's 50% more in the future that you've just earned yourself by leaving it till age 65. So yes, you are getting a higher percentage amount, but only because you're leaving it there until you turn 65. And by the way, there is no option to leave your contributions behind and start pulling down your pension at any other age except 65. So the person who's 55 cannot wait till they're 60 and say, well, now instead of a 50% penalty, I'll take a 25% penalty. That's not an option, 65 or nothing.
Got it. Okay, we had a question about marrying 2 years prior to retiring. I believe that was eligible as long as it was at least 1 year, correct? Okay, so we got that one. And then we'll take this final question here. Same question as Michael, the higher date of 2001. Jason, can you jump in and ask your question? Because I'm not sure which Michael you're referring to. No? If you're speaking, you're muted. Okay. In any case, the number is here for you guys if you would like to give them a call. We also recorded this presentation, so we'll have it sent out to everyone who registered, so you can go back and refer to all of the contact information. And I do want to, before we close out completely, remind you all that this is a Motivate Me self-reporting activity. So if you are participating in Motivate Me, please feel free to go on to mycigna.com or the MyCigna app and self-report today's date for participating. And with that, I will give you guys some time back here so you can enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, thank
Forward
you.
to your calls.
Angel.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.